So just how good is your sense of direction? Could you get from point A to point B without any navigation device, just using your own senses and your own sense of direction? Sounds easy, right? Well, today I'm going to find out. I've travelled down to Exeter St Davids train station. I've caught the train to Barnstaple, so all unfamiliar roads, have no idea where I'm going, none of the places, and I'm going to attempt to cycle back unaided and see if I can find my way. The only rules are I'm going to try and do it in the straightest line possible, and I can't go on any A roads because that'd just be too easy. Sounds like a challenge, one I'm ready to take on. Oh, and this is 2 days after the event, and I'm having to record this now because I have no audio from the whole trip. I forgot the memory card and I've got 0 audio. So I was bound to forget something. Didn't expect it to be the memory card and the audio, but there we go. So I boarded the train for just over an hour to cover the distance I would have to cycle back. I don't know how far it will be, but I'm hoping it will only take me 4 hours or so. As I've left Exeter at 12:19 and I should be in Barnstaple by 13:30, and then I've got to figure out which direction to cycle. Now, if only I'd bought a memory card to record the audio. I know it's been a while and I was bound to forget something, but the audio, I hope you can bear with me as I take you through the day and try to remember what I said. So I've arrived at Barnstaple train station and I'm straight onto the Tarka Trail, so that's a good start. I'm going to head off that way, I think. There I go, yapping away, completely oblivious that none of this audio is ever going to be heard. Just an idiot at the start of what I thought would be a simple day out. I had full faith in my sense of direction that I'd make it look easy, and you'd all think I'd faked it, and secretly kept checking up the map. But no, just like my faith in the audio, that was misplaced. For the record, my Wahoo is in my back pocket recording, but I don't touch it again until I press stop on the ride. Here I'm waffling something about the sun's position and how I can use it to help my ride southeast back towards Exeter. My only bit of knowledge on the day was the wind was blowing southeasterly from checking the weather, so I know I should have a tailwind all day. It looked like I'd come across my first main road, so I was hoping I could cross it. Otherwise I would have to turn around and find another way. But luckily the bike path crossed the road onto the B3232 to Newton Tracy, which I've never heard of. I know Torrington though, and I know that's too far south. So I crossed the road on the bike path, avoided my first A road, and headed up the B3232 and found the first of many 20% climbs I'd encounter. Looking for a left turn as I really didn't want to go as south as Torrington. Luckily it wasn't long before I found my left turn, which I found at Eastcombe. Yep, I'm still chatting away to myself whilst not recording any of the audio. I'm pointing out which way the wind is blowing amongst the other usual waffle. High on confidence, I know what I'm doing and this will be easy. At the end of the video I'll show you the route I took and how I fared with the choices I made. But for now, let's watch me complain to nobody that I'd ridden up 2 20% climbs already, which is probably my first mistake about the train I'd chosen for this challenge. It's North Devon. 20% climbs are everywhere. It wasn't long before we found the next up to Torstock, where I could see a castle-like structure at the top of this hill. But I had new roads to explore and beautiful countryside to take in as I pushed up the ridiculously steep climb to the castle. I've slowed this down as this signpost is significant. Did you spot my first mistake? Anyway, about that castle. It's at the summit of the climb and it's privately owned. But I stopped to get a good shot of it before whipping out my camera to tell you how well I think I'm doing, and I'm glad I'm going down this hill as I'd just seen a cyclist coming up the other side. Up to the castle, properly struggling on the incline. How smug I was to be going down it instead. But get ready, because my world is about to be rocked to its core. Look at that face. The horror. The disbelief. Let me slow it right down so you can enjoy my misery. Yep, that's where I started about 30 minutes ago. I'd managed to go around in a complete circle. As I point out the obvious, as I went that way up the bike path, blah blah blah. Now I'm pointing out that if you thought I was faking the lack of navigation, I hope this showed that I'm really just winging it, and my confidence regarding my sense of direction has just drained fully out of my body. Then the realisation that I'm going to have to retrace my pedal strokes up that ridiculously steep climb that I was so smug to be going down. Remember that signpost and turning? The one that told me I was going to Barnstaple and I ignored? Yep, that's where I should have turned right. That's where I should have turned right. On the plus side, I flew down the hill so fast the first time, I missed the shot of the nice tunnel. So at least you get to see it on my way back up the hill to the castle. At this point my head was spinning, and without a clue where I was, I looked for that feeling of being lost on new roads. I love it, but this was a kind of different lost. I had no idea which direction I'm supposed to be going in. The sun had disappeared under a blanket of cloud and the hills are so high I can't see any of the landmarks. Still unaware of the turning I missed, I desperately searched for a right turn, only to find a private driveway, which was right next to the main road I'd crossed over on the bridge. Now I'm really confused, as that road sign says Barnstaple. So wrong to point out that the other way must be to Exeter. So back to that signpost, and the penny drops. Barnstaple, 2 miles, who knew? At this point I don't have anything else to lose apart from my dignity and my self-respect. So off I head to the next signpost, and my head is telling me left, as right was to Newton Tracy, which was on the signpost for Torrington, back towards a possible A road we'd ridden over. So sure enough, I came upon the A377, Forbidden Territory. But at least it confirmed which way Exeter was and gave me an out up, you guessed it, on a North Devon's finest gradients. Now for the next turn, no signposts, but heading parallel to the A road's got to be right, hasn't it? So confident I headed along the lane, away from the steep hill, which wasn't a factor in my decision, honest. It took me along a lane with a beautiful view, but it was short-lived as I found myself in a farmyard. This would become a good rule to follow for the rest of the day. No signposts, don't go that way. So up the long climb it was. Ah, North Devon, where flat roads don't exist. I found one, a turn-in with a road sign heading in my direction. Yep, that's the right way for once. This is me explaining that I hope to get a view at some point, to get my bearings at least. At least at this point my sense of direction was working. It felt like the right way, and it was. Basically all my wafting arms are showing you is I'm complaining about all the steep hills. It's hard to tell as apparently I waft my arms around a lot in my videos, as I'm often teased by my daughter Abby. And yes, there is that dreaded Newton Tracy in the other direction, so it's got to be this way. I should point out at this point, without my Wahoo, I have no idea how far I've gone or how far the ride will be. My knowledge of the route and the places to look out for was solely the stations and trains I stopped on the journey to Barnstaple. So I know I need to head towards Crediton. It wasn't long before my head was spinning again as Newton Tracy appears on the sign in the opposite direction to Barnstaple. And sadly I'm still only 6 miles away from my start point, and it seems now like hours have passed and I've gone nowhere. At least the road continues in the direction I want to go. At the bottom of this hill a family wished me good luck, which didn't fill me with confidence of the incline to come, which probably helped me decide to go for the right fork, which looked to be a gentler climb. And it was in the opposite direction to Barnstaple, but this was a decision I'd regret. The road went on in the wrong direction and the left turn I wanted didn't appear, which led me to a view I dreaded. Dartmoor, looming in the distance, and I was heading right for it. The realisation that I'd gone too far south had set in, as I panicked as to how long this was going to take me today. Which then led me to my next big mistake. I headed into Torrington on the B road knowing I needed to make a major left turn, which led me in hindsight to actually turn too early and lead me into hell. I spot the sign, all 25% downhill, and a road into the distance that resembled a stairway to heaven as it just kept going up to the sky. And I promise this is not me complaining about riding up that monster, especially as if I'm honest, I walked part of it. But note me pointing out I can recall that road from a holiday I once had in North Devon, and I can remember the road I was on, which had many of those 25% ups and downs. So I at this point took the first right turn I could find to get away from my worst fears, and little did I know I'm on the right road again. You'll see later just at what significant point this was, but I digress. The first sign for Exeter popped up like a beacon of hope. I checked the time as I pulled out my camera and noted that it was 5 PM and I'd been going for 4.5 hours at this point, and I didn't feel like I'd made enough progress. I was hoping to be done in 4 to 5 hours, so we better crack on and make up some time. As fast B roads turned into fast downhill steep descents, and I mean North Devon steep descent, it was pretty scary. I whooshed down a very bumpy lane into the end game. Yes, I came out on the A377 again, with no other options except to turn around and retrace my steps up the monster climb I'd just had a near-death experience coming down, I decided that the mission was over. The signpost alerted me to the station just 10 minutes up the road at Egerton. So with time running out, I made the sensible decision to abandon the challenge and catch the train at Egerton back to Exeter. Doing the maths, I wouldn't be home until 9 PM, even if I catch the train. So I dare to think how long it would be if I just continued the ride. So enjoy my arms wafting again as I explain I failed. So, where did it all go wrong? Well, in all honesty, it went wrong twice. If I'd have made 2 different decisions, I might have done it. Well, the first one was obvious, remember the sign? If I'd have turned here, it would have been the right direction. Only like a complete numpty, I did a full circle back to the start before retracing my steps back to the correct turn. Ignoring the dead end to the farm, I actually made good progress at this point, until we got to this sign. As I studied the map later, this was the biggest mistake. Had I gone left, well, you'll see. So I went to Torrington where I didn't want to go, due to there being no left turns the way I went. I then made a panic turn. Had I have taken the next turn, I'd still have been alright, but this is where the time disappeared as I cycled all the way back to the 25% monster climb. I actually came within a stone's throw from where I'd been hours earlier, and several climbs ago, before making the right turn to head in the right route and the Exeter sign. But as the road veered further south, I turned back and made another wrong turn, which had me backtracking to the A377, where I made the decision to call it a day, and cycled to the station just a few miles up the road. So I actually rode 37.5 miles or 60 kilometres. I climbed 4,124 feet or 1,257 metres. Yeah, in hardly any distance. I plotted the route on Komoot when I got home to see that it should have been 66 kilometres in 3.5 hours and just 1,000 metres of climbing. I say just, it's North Devon 1,000 metres at 20%. So how the hell did we ever navigate on our bikes without any GPS whatsoever? I look back now and I can't remember how we did it. It just amazes me. That was so much harder than I ever thought it was going to be. I just got lost in those lanes, the high hedges, the hills, not being able to see. I was just so disorientated. I had no idea where I was. And I love that feeling of getting lost, but not on this occasion. But this isn't over. I will be back. I'm going to try this again somewhere else, somewhere without 20% climbs, somewhere a little bit flatter, a little easier to navigate. I was thinking afterwards maybe I should have studied the route and tried to memorise the route as opposed to going in blind, but that feels like cheating, doesn't it? So I'm going to do it purely. I'm going to try again, and who knows, I might actually do it next time without going round in complete circles. So let me know in the comments if you've got any suggestions where I should try this again. It'd be great to just come up with somewhere completely new and just go out there and smash it. But also let me know in the comments if you've ever tried this, how you got on. Am I the only complete loser who gets lost? Unless of course you smashed it, in which case then I would feel a complete loser. Oh, well, next time, I promise I'll sort out the audio.